Hello, Elly here from Thankful Flow Yoga. Thank you so much for joining me for day 14 in our 30 days of yoga series. So today we are going to be doing a Vinyasa Sun Salutations focused flow. So I'm going to be guiding you through our Surya Namaskar A and B, so our Sun Salutations, and giving you the different options and modifications so that you can check in with some of your alignment and how we're doing things throughout the Sun Salutation, and also building that energy. Today, coming into a comfortable seated position. And we're going to bring the hands to the knees with the palms facing down and closing off the eyes or taking a steady gaze out in front. And start to allow your body to soften into this practice. And we're going to take a breath technique where we will elongate the exhales. So we'll breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 8. If this doesn't feel right for you at any time, then just come back to your natural breathing or adjust the count to something that works for you. So inhaling through the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Coming back to your natural breathing. And we'll open the eyes now, and you can take a steady gaze out in front. And then start to just bring the legs out in front now. We're going to bring the sole of the right foot to the inside of the left thigh and let that right knee drop out to the side. If you need some support here, you could always take a block and pop that under the thigh, or have blocks and props under the hips to support you. So inhale here, reach the crown of the head to the ceiling, and as you exhale, we're folding over the front left leg. So keeping the spine long and really bringing the body over that leg. It doesn't matter how deep or not you come into the stretch, remembering this is the beginning of the practice, listening to your body. So as you inhale, maybe finding a gentle lift through the chest. As you exhale, sinking into your fold. So moving with your breath. Well done, and walk the hands back in, and we'll take it over to the other side. So sole of the left foot comes to the inside of the right thigh, taking any blocks or props that you need, because we're opening into the hip here, but we're also stretching the spine, stretching the back of that right leg. So inhale, reaching the crown of the head to the ceiling. Exhale, folding forwards into your Janu Shasana. Finding your breath. Connecting with those inhales and the exhales. Allowing the body to start to open up and let go of anything here that's no longer needed. Let it be released. One more breath here. Then we'll inhale, lifting away from the fold. Take it into an all fours position on your mat, so tabletop position. Shoulders stacked above the wrists, hips above the knees. Fingers nice and spread. Now keeping this right leg bent, we're going to start to lift that right leg away from the mat and take some circles, so really moving into that right hip. So it doesn't matter how big or small your circles are. Using your core here as well, so seeing if you can draw the belly in and use your core for your stability, so we're not just sinking into the lower back. Now start to come back in the opposite direction as well, moving around in those circles. Breathing. Last one, well done. And bring the right leg in and we'll take it on to the other side. So start to move this left leg around into some circles. You could imagine with your knee that you're drawing a circle either out behind or out to the side, depending on how small or big you're making these movements. And just remembering that taking the movements really nice and slow might actually intensify the feeling of the movement. So seeing maybe if you can slow down a bit here. And really notice how that hip feels, which muscles are switching on to stabilize and support your body. Keep breathing, last one. Well done, bring that left leg back in, probably feeling that in the glutes firing up. So now, grounding into the left hand, I want you to inhale and start to sweep that right arm up and around, so we're taking some circles. Inhaling and exhaling. So moving into that right shoulder, sweeping up and around. See if you can come back the opposite way. Breathing, stabilizing the rest of your body. Doesn't matter how big or small your circles are. And then bring your right hand back down to the mat. We'll take it onto the other side. So inhaling and exhaling. Sweeping that left arm up and around. Really moving into the shoulder. Noticing any restrictions. Well done. Come back in the opposite direction now. Keeping your connection to breath. Well done. And bring the hand back down. Tuck the toes under. Walk your feet in towards the hands. Hang down in a little forward fold here, bending the legs as much as you need to. Option to bring your peace fingers around the big toes and let the elbows come out to the side, only if that's accessible for you. If it's not, then no need to take it. Just hang down in your forward fold. So let the head hang heavy. Just allowing that opening into the back of the legs. And then releasing from the fold, bring your hands to your hips. You can keep some softness in the legs here. Draw the belly in, lift the chest, come up to Tadasana. Grounding into your feet, roughly hip width apart. We'll start to come through our Sun Salutation A. Inhale, sweep the fingertips up. Lift your ribs away from the hips. Exhale, hinge from the hips, fold forwards, Uttanasana, bend your legs as much as you need to. Inhale, we lift the chest, lengthen the spine, find Ardha Uttanasana, our halfway lift. So for your Ardha Uttanasana, we really want the spine to be long, that's the priority. So you could have the fingertips coming down to the ground here like me, or you could be having the hands on the shins or the thighs, and you can keep a little bend in your legs as well if you need to. So imagine crown of the head reaching forwards. Exhale, hands are coming down to the mat. Step or jump it back to plank. To modify, you can always drop your knees straight down in your plank. So we'll do the modified Sun Salutation A first. So for modified, we're exhaling, dropping the knees down to the mat. Keep the elbows tucked in towards the body, so it's knees, chest, chin, comes down to the floor. Hands underneath the shoulders for Cobra. Inhale, roll the shoulders back, peel the chest away from the mat, press the tops of the feet to the mat. Exhale, release the chest back down. And then we inhale, press the hands into the mat. Exhale, send the hips to the sky, downward facing dog. Option for a child's pose here if you need it. So really pressing the mat away with your hands. And again, the priority here is the length through the spine. So if you need to bend the legs, you absolutely can. Sending your gaze between the knees. Finding your breath. Inhale, we send the gaze between the hands, step or jump the feet in, lift the chest, lengthen the spine, come back to your halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, forward fold, bend the legs as much as you need to. Inhale, sweep the fingertips up to the sky, lift the ribs away from the hips. Exhale, hands come through to heart center. So that's our first Surya Namaskar A, modified version done. So if that's the version that works for you, continue that version throughout your practice. And again, we inhale, reach the fingertips up, ribs are lifting away from the hips. Exhale, we float forwards for our forward fold, Uttanasana. Remember to bend your legs if you need to. Inhale, lifting the chest, lengthening through the spine, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, hands come down to the mat, step or you can jump it back to plank. So now I'm going to go through the upward facing dog option, but taking what feels right in your body. So inhale, we come into upward facing dog or cobra. So for upward facing dog, just making sure that thighs are away from the mat. Shoulders are roughly stacked above the wrists. Exhale, floating back to downward facing dog. Hips are lifting away from the ribs. Press the mat away with your hands. Inhale, send your gaze between the hands. Step or jump your feet in. Lift the chest, lengthen the spine, come back to your halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep the fingertips up to the sky, grow the spine tall. Exhale, hands through to heart center. Well, so now we'll come through our Surya Namaskar B, so our Sun Salutation B. So for this one, you might like to step your feet in slightly closer together. Inhale, sit the hips back, find your Utkatasana, your chair pose. Imagining that your hips are sitting down onto a chair behind you. Arms are by the ears or they could be reached out in front. Exhale, fold forwards. Inhale, lift the chest, lengthen the spine. Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Exhale, hands come down to the mat, step or jump the feet back to plank, shoulders above the wrists. Move through your chaturanga, so inhaling into an upward facing dog or cobra. And exhaling back to your downward facing dog. Hips are lifting to the sky, really pressing the mat away with your hands. From here, we're going to inhale and sweep this right foot through between the hands. Back heel comes down for a warrior one. Arms reaching up, lifting up and out from the waist. And then from here, grabbing blocks if you need them to support you, we're going to find our way into a warrior three. Just move out the way of my lovely plant. Finding a warrior three on this right side. So Virabhadrasana 3. So hands can be at heart center, hips are shining towards the mat, pressing back through that left heel. Breathing here. And then I want you to bring your hands down if they're not already. And we're going to find a standing split position here. So it could be that you're working here for your standing split. You could have your hand on blocks to support you. Or if you're if you're opening into the hips today, you can play with walking the hands in and really lifting that left leg up to the sky. Option to wrap that right arm around the right leg and draw the forehead in towards the shin. These are all just options. Take what you need. Well done. Start to release from your standing split, so you can walk your hands back out, step it back to plank. Work through your chaturanga. So again, we inhale into upward facing dog or cobra. And then we exhale back to a downward facing dog. Reconnecting with your breath here. On the inhale, left foot sweeps through between the hands, back heel comes down, reach the fingertips up, warrior one. Lifting the ribs away from the hips. From here, seeing if you can power into this front leg, no worries if you need to step the foot in. And we find Virabhadrasana 3, our warrior 3. So taking hands to blocks if you need to. Hips are square, press back through your right heel. Keeping that back leg nice and active. You can keep a little bend through the standing leg as well here. It doesn't have to be completely straight. Well done. And then we're going to reach the hands down to the mat. So finding our standing split. And you can either work here, or maybe the hands are walking in closer to the leg. Option to wrap the left arm around the left leg, drawing the forehead in towards the shin, and reaching the right leg up to the sky, opening into the hips. Just take the option that works for you today. Well done. So walk the hands back out, step it back to plank, and work through your chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog or cobra. And exhaling back to your downward facing dog. Option to take a releasing breath here, inhaling through the nose. Exhaling out through the mouth. Inhale, send your gaze between the hands. Step or walk the feet in. Lift your chest, lengthen the spine, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Bend the legs as much as you need to. Inhale, sit the hips back, find your Utkatasana, inner thighs drawing in together, belly's coming away from the thighs. Exhale, hands to heart center, meeting in Tadasana, mountain pose. Take a couple of breaths here with the hands at heart center. Well done. So now we're going to take a big step out to the side. Toes are pointing forward, so coming into our Prasarita Padottanasana. So hands come to the hips. Inhale, reach the crown of the head to the ceiling. Exhale, fold forwards, keeping the spine long. So again, you could have your hands placed on blocks here. You could bring them down to the mat. Option to come back to bringing the peace fingers around the big toes. If that's in your practice, you can let the elbows come out to the side. So using that resistance here in the fold, in the stretch. Breathing into the back of the legs. Well done. And releasing the hands if you had the peace fingers around the big toes. And then you're going to take the left hand either to the ground or to a block. And you're going to inhale, reach the right fingertips up towards the ceiling, following with your gaze. Exhale, release it back down, come onto the other side. Inhale, reach the left fingertips up, follow with the gaze. Exhale, release it back down. Bring the hands to the hips. Inhale, draw the belly in, keeping the spine long, lifting the chest, coming back up. Step the feet in slightly. So now the feet are roughly hip width apart and we've got the toes pointing out this time. So one of my favorites, Malasana. Inhale, reach the crown of the head to the ceiling, hands at heart center. And then we exhale, bend through the legs. Start to sink those hips down towards the mat. So always the option to take a seated Malasana here where your hips are on the ground. That's a really lovely option. Really making sure that you're checking in with the knee and the ankles, checking that they're feeling okay. This is a very strong pose for them. You can always have a block under the hips to support you as well. So just taking what you need, or under the heels. So growing the spine tall, crown of the head's lifting upwards. Imagine that there's a string coming from the crown of your head all the way up to the ceiling. Breathing here. Well done. Bring those hips down to the mat. And finally, we're going to come into a Gomukhasana here. So getting a lovely stretch into the hips as well today as our warming sun salutations. So bring your legs out in front and then you're going to hook this right leg over the left leg. And I mean completely hook it over. Working towards the knees being stacked, but it's okay if they're not. That's just the gesture of where they're heading. So you're either going to work here, or if it's accessible, bending the underneath leg as well. And we're stacking or working towards stacking the knees. Inhale, reach your fingertips up to the sky. And then start to send your left hand down your back. And you're either going to bring the right hand to the left elbow, or you can internally rotate with this right shoulder. So the right shoulder's rolling forwards. And maybe the fingertips are reaching and finding each other behind the back. You could always use a strap for this one as well, so you could have both hands meeting a strap if the fingers aren't meeting, which is a really nice option to take here. So breathing here, using your core. So notice if you're flaring out through the ribs at all here, and just seeing if you can softly draw the belly in. Breathing. So a really nice stretch into the shoulders and the hips. Well done, and release the arms, release the legs. Bring them so they're back out in front and take a little bit of movement. And then we'll start to hook the left leg over this time. So you could be working here. Maybe you're bending the underneath leg as well. So knees are stacked. You could always have blocks under the hips to support you as well, which is another nice option. Inhale, reach the fingertips up. Send your right hand down your back. Left hand either comes to the right elbow, or you're going to roll. So we're internally rotating this left shoulder and maybe finding the grip here. But no worries if that is not for you. You can always try it with the strap if you wish to. Breathing here. Really letting those sitting bones sink into the ground. Using your breath as a way to connect to sense of grounding, bringing us into the present moment, helping to regulate our body, our nervous system. The breath is such a powerful tool for healing, for regulating. It's something that we all have within us, that we can all use, that we can all connect to. Well done. Release the arms, release your legs, and just come back to that comfortable seated position where we started the class. Hands, palms facing down, closing the eyes or taking your gaze out in front. And we'll close off the practice with a releasing breath. So we'll inhale through the nose for 3 counts, and then you can exhale out through your mouth like a big sigh. Imagine as you do so, just releasing anything that's no longer needed. Inhale through the nose for 1, 2, 3. Exhale, release. And opening the eyes back up when you're ready. Taking a steady gaze. Thank you so much for joining me in this practice. I really appreciate every single one of you that does these flows with me. I love hearing from you, so do comment and feedback to me on how you're getting on. If you can subscribe to this channel, it's completely free to help support this kind of free yoga resource. There are links below to the other things that I offer if you'd like to connect with me for one of my online live retreats or other classes. Do check that out, and I can't wait to see you again for another flow very soon.